So I'm all in. I took my retirement, I put it all into the business. It's a scary proposition.
So bTECH has this amazing, amazing origin story. How did this come to be?
My mom was a diabetic, and I saw her develop diabetic foot ulcers after she had broke her ankle. So within the wintertime, she slipped on some ice at our back door going in, broke her ankle. They put a little tiny pin in there to stabilize it. And then they said, oh, we're going to take that out in a few months because you don't need it. And they took it out, and it became a wound that went all the way down to the bone. And then she had the unfortunate incident of falling again and broke the other ankle. And it opened up the first wound. She had the second wound. And within 3 years, she lost both legs to diabetic foot ulcers, one above the knee and one below the knee. And I said, something's got to be done. And I started looking at light therapies. And by the end, my mom had lost both legs, but the passion had been ignited because of love for her. And I looked at light, and I was like, oh my God, lasers heal wounds. And it does what the body wants to do. It heals it from the inside out because it brings more oxygen and more nutrients to the bed of the wound, helping to expedite the closure from the inside. And I said, look, we need to miniaturize light therapy. We need to take that, put it into a patch-sized device that people can put not on the bed of the wound, but someplace else that they can reach.
How have people received the technology as you've been putting it out there in the world?
Oh my God, everything from, are you sure that's going to work, to, if this really works how you're saying it's going to work, this is a game changer. And I hear that more frequently now, that can be a game changer. And that's all I'm asking. Let's have a thought-provoking game changer conversation. I'm not trying to take over the world. I'm not Pinky in the Brain. I'm like, what are you doing today? I'm taking over the world. No, I ain't trying to take over the world. I'm not trying to change the world. I just want to bring something else in that can help people. There are $12 billion in chronic wounds. 12 billion chronic wounds. That includes burns. That includes the diabetic foot ulcers. And in that diabetic foot ulcer sector, you got over 5 million people just in the United States. That's a lot of people.
Can you just tell me a little bit more about the technology itself?
Yeah, so it is, without giving away the secret sauce, it is a patch-sized device. We can cut it into whatever sizes we want. Right now, our deal is like a 2x2, 2x4, no more than a 4x4. And that's very similar to what you would see in the second skins, like a duoderm. And that's to help with people if they actually have some morbidity issues. They can have a bigger patch to
And do I put it on the wound?
It's not going to wound. It does not compete with the wound.
Nearby the wound.
It can be nearby the wound or distal from the wound, because what we're actually doing is increasing microcirculation. So microcirculation increases a full body systemic response. So what we're doing is, in layman terms, is if you've taken any kind of blood pressure medication, it opens up the blood vessels. When you get open blood vessels, you get more oxygen, you get more nutrients. You probably feel a lot better. And that's what this does. It actually piggybacks as a secondary response in the downhill processes of vasodilation. And so it naturally releases the nitric oxide that's already being kind of produced in this downhill cascade process. And by doing that, you get microcirculation increase.
You've got to experience trying to be an entrepreneur in, a physical product, which has its own set of challenges. How have you felt sort of trying to do that? Is it lonely? You've gotten a lot of support?
Cool. I think for me in Ohio, it has been very lonely. I think when I started expanding out into Massachusetts and into Wisconsin and other places like that, it has been more family nurturing. I think because we're still so relatively new here in Ohio in terms of deep tech, life science, entrepreneurship, that a lot of the foundational things that are already very well established in Massachusetts, California, these other places, we're still just behind and lagging. And so if I go to an event here in Ohio, for instance, they'll say, oh, it's technology. But when I get there, I'm expecting to see people like me, not color-wise, but people like me that are in the life sciences. And what I find is people who got an app, people got a food product, a hair product, a cooking product, and there's nothing wrong with those things. There's absolutely nothing wrong. But they're lumped all together into tech. So I find it very lonely here.
What would it take here in Ohio to really raise the level of med tech startups? I mean, we think about them all the time because we have the clinic and this great healthcare and the manufacturing, and that's why I was saying, like, you're in the center of it. Yeah. Feels like there should be more. What do you think it would take from an ecosystem perspective?
I think being willing to open up the conversation and dialogue and say, hey, we are short and lacking here, and that we need to build it up and be a little bit more robust in it. I think it would attract businesses to Ohio if they were willing to have that conversation and not have the, I'm going to say it, the I've got it, I'm already arrived attitude. You know, it's here, you know, it's in our DNA. But that takes us recognizing we're not quite there yet.
We've chatted a little bit about, you said, look, you're a double minority in this world, right? You're ignoring all of the brilliant, just, you know, doing these entrepreneurial things, reinventing a whole medical industry. You're also doing it as a person of color and as a woman. So I am sure that brings a lot of challenges, and you have a lot of perspectives on that. I would love to hear them.
Oh my God. I'm not going to say the B word because I've heard people say that about me. Because when you're aggressive and assertive, if I was a Caucasian man, oh, he's great. If I was the Caucasian female, oh, she's wonderful. But because I'm an African-American female, she's a B. Because I'm just standing up and saying my thing, and I know what I need. And I'm not afraid and I'm not apologetic of saying, no, that's not going to work for me right now. Oh, yeah, that will work for me. Or, oh, yeah, I can see that. And so it presents hurdles because you are assertive and you're not afraid to speak. And sometimes I feel like it may burn bridges for me, but I have to say to myself, for every bridge burned, there's a bridge built. Sometimes you got to look at that other bridge in the rear mirror. Because I've been trained and proved and pruned, and now I know it's okay for me to speak up, and it's okay for me to be assertive, and it's okay if you say all of those other things on there with me and for me and about me. But what I have to do is maintain the integrity, the business, the moving forward in it, regardless of ups and downs in it, regardless of what people say, what people do. Stay focused.
So you've had to do a lot of fundraising for this, and I imagine that's been quite challenging, especially because I know that physical products are very challenging. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, fundraising is my second area of challenges, and primarily because you do have a physical product, and people are like, oh, well, are you revenue generating already? And we're not revenue generating yet. So when you're in the R&D phase of the research and development, it's hard to do that. Now, couple that would be in a double minority. So historically, you know, African Americans are under the cement of investors. We're not even above ground on it. We are like low men, don't do it, and it doesn't matter how well you are. So for us at bTECH, it's been self-funding, bootstrapping up until now. So I'm all in. You know, I took my retirement. I put it all into the business. I'm not ashamed to say I'll be 60. This is my 60th year this year. And so, you know, it's a scary proposition. But I tell people, right, but I tell people, look, if you believe in something that you're doing, the money will come. You just got to do the steps and do what you need to do to build it.
What are your hopes and dreams for bTECH?
My hope is that we are at eye level on the shelf in a Target. I want to be CVS, Target, Walmart, eye level on the shelf so that people can come in and buy the product and use it.
You don't mind my asking, how do you feel your mom would feel about your current venture in bTECH?
I think that to myself sometime. I think that she would be happy. I think she would be like, I wish I had this when I was alive, and I might not have had to have an amputation. let alone a second one. I think it helped me to become who I am today because my parents have always been proud and very supportive. And I feel that that's not only pride, but that's unadulterated love.